of his passing. Listen to Peter and the Acid King on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're giving stuff away with the Alan Cox Show. We're giving stuff away.
All right, our own Bam Bam Bill Squire is doing a special taping, a brand new show at the Agora with special guest Mary Santora, Marty Malloy. It's going to go down Friday night, December the 22nd. At the world-famous Agora. Tickets are on sale if you go to agoracleveland.com. You can win a pair here. Anything else you want people to know, William?
Buy some tickets. I mean,
I'm
they're
going to give these away.
Already. Yeah, win them if you can. But if you buy them, it's going to be great. I'm really excited about it, and I love the material. I don't know. This is a big thing. This is the biggest thing I've ever done, and I really would appreciate the support.
Be there for the biggest thing Bill has ever done. Caller 10, these are yours. Good luck. 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
Another ringing endorsement
You're an idiot. Your show sucks. And you've proven that many times.
for the Alan Cox Show
You're so stupid.
on 100.7 WMMS.
Going to talk to Bill Burr in a minute. I have one more. What's that?
About what?
Oh, he's doing a show in Canton next Saturday night.
That's exciting.
I'll have one more pair of tickets for you tomorrow afternoon if you want to get to Bill Burr live. Otherwise, hofvillage.com for all the details. The show is at Hall of Fame Stadium down there in Canton next Saturday night. Next week on the show, bands and comedians. That's what I got for you. John Oliver is doing the Akron Civic Theater in a couple of weeks. Static and X and Seven Dust have announced they're coming back to the Agora in February.
Nice.
Bullet for My Valentine is a couple of weeks away from doing a show at the Agora. Get you into that show. And Chelsea Handler is back at Playhouse Square on October 20th. So I will have those tickets for you all next week here on the program. Also, comedian Stavros Halkis is going to join me next week. He has, we've had those tickets for you all this week. He is also in town next Saturday, too. He's doing Playhouse Square. Comedian, actor, kind of comedian, I guess. Ed Begley, depending on what you see him in. Ed Begley Jr. Hey, Gaylord, hello.
Hello, Mr. Cox. How are you, sir?
Good. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to say hello to Miss Santora, wherever she may be. And hi, Mr. Squire.
Hey, what's up, Gaylord?
Sir? Well, I would like to congratulate Mr. Brown on his notoriety in the sports area. And I wanted to also say that you're looking very handsome, Mr. Cox, with your great-looking beard.
Bill, is Gaylord hitting on me? Is that what's happening right now?
No, I think he's just paying you a compliment.
Oh,
He's
okay,
digging the beard.
I don't know what to do with
Not
those, but thank
really,
you. All
but
right, I'm just
I
double-checking.
I know a great-looking white beard when I see one.
Wasn't
since
sure if I was
have
sending out
one
signals.
down. I have a long beard,
Yeah.
a very long beard. I looked, like I said, like Santa Claus before. But anyway, I just want to thank you guys all for having me on your show. So
Listen,
thank you all so
Gaylord.
much. I love you guys so much, including Miss Santora.
Right.
Like I said, wherever
She's out
She's
there.
in Vegas.
She's in Vegas for the first time ever.
I hope she wins a few.
I don't know if she's gonna.
She shouldn't be doing that.
I don't know if she's gonna
try not to do the gamble.
gamble. Right. Okay. Thank you. There's Gaylord out in Wellington who is he's. I wasn't sure if I was getting mixed signals from him or not. I wasn't sure where he was coming from. Hey, Bill Burr is on the phone. He is in town next Saturday night. He's doing the Hall of Fame Stadium down there in Canton. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
This must feel like full circle for you, right? Next Saturday from Canton, Massachusetts, all the way to Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, I thought for a second you were talking about my short-lived football career. I would say no. I got my butt kicked in third grade, and my dad was like, you stink, and you're going to knock your brains out. You're not playing this. You're going to play baseball. And I was like, all right. In defense of me, my dad wasn't a sports guy, and I needed a cup, and he got me this cup, and it was rubbing on the inside of my legs. I didn't realize until I got to high school because I kept it. It sat in my underwear drawer. He bought me like a man-sized cup when I was in third grade. So I couldn't I couldn't run normally. So instead of playing wide receiver like I wanted, I ended up playing like offensive line. I didn't have a good time, and that was the end of my career. But having said that, Canton, Mass to Canton, Ohio, awesome.
Listen, at least your dad had the wherewithal to kind of pull you early. You know, my son, who's 23 now, but when he was playing Pee Wee football, he was such a beast that he kept getting like concussed. And I finally said, "That's it, man." I said, "No more like plowing through the line or whatever." So at least your dad kind of pulled you early.
Then they used to have us lead with your head and use your head like a battering ram and keep your head up and, you know, slam into the guy. Yeah, you were seeing stars. Yeah, it was a smart move. I still did terrible in school, but at least he knew it wasn't his fault for letting me play football. But the bigger thing here, to be playing that stadium, you know what, one play, all those games that I always think of, the Hall of Fame game there, was Jeremy Shockey's rookie year when he ran over that guy. And it was like his first catch for the Giants. And he just literally lowered his shoulder and ran over this back. And I always forget the guy's name, the defensive tackle who somehow became the logical replacement for Regis Philbin, like the greatest career ever.
Michael Strahan.
Strahan. Watching him all hyped up on the sideline, like, oh, man, we got to get the offense the ball.
You're the only person that's ever remembered anything that happened in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, Jeremy Shockey. That's a blast in the past.
I mean, he did it, man. It was a memorable. They were playing real football that day. He really ran over that guy, so that was a great sign, you know. So you're gonna love a big tight end that's just gonna run over somebody. I kind of grew up during the era of them, the Russ Francis's. Remember all those guys? Kellen Winslow.
Oh, we got Ozzie Newsome here. I mean, that's the guy that is a legend in Cleveland, even though he continued his career.
Casper.
Yeah.
Let them all.
Were you
Joe Dupree?
But you were the first comic to do Fenway Park too, right? That must have been. I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
Yes, I was. And you know what's funny? My agent booked me the very next day in Toronto, so I didn't even get to enjoy it. After playing Fenway Park, the very next morning, I'm at Logan Airport. They're like, take out all your laptops, no liquids. Like, I didn't even get a chance to go into one Dunkin' Donuts and get a high five. So I had to talk to him. I was like, can you let me smell the roses here? Like, I'm doing this event in Manchester, New Hampshire with Tony B, who worked with me at Fenway Park.
Yeah.
We're announcing midget wrestling, right? Smoking cigars, announcing midget wrestling, and my agent books me that night in Manchester. It's like, who wants to do anything after that? I want to hang out with the fighters and laugh and have a great night.
You couldn't even you couldn't even bask in the glow of it.
No, just the humor of it. I'll tell you what's funny is they offered me the gig through Tony V, so they call up my tour manager, Club Soda Kenny, and Club Soda says to Tony, he goes, he just played Fenway Park. You think he wants to announce midget wrestling? And he goes, hey, this isn't coming from me. And then Kenny goes, hang on a second. And then Tony goes, he called me back 30 seconds later. He's like, all right, Bill's in.
Hey, there's no gig too small.
That's right. So when you go back when you go back to Boston, is it still guys like Sweeney and Tony V? Are those guys all still bouncing around?
Yeah, Tony V has been doing radio. He's like a stand-up and radio / sports legend. Tony V, when he's not doing stand-up, is in like Oscar-winning movies. They shoot a lot of movies in Boston, and he's like a genius, man. Like he let the business come to him. He was in a movie I think 2 years ago that won an Oscar. I did a movie with him. I shot a movie called The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. Tony V was in that. He was also in The Brotherhood. But yeah, all those guys. I think Don Gavin might have relocated to Florida, but yeah, I owe my whole career to those guys. Those guys all started this scene and set the bar in a level of funny, what was considered killing, and what was considered hack. And it was like getting your master's degree just watching late great Kevin Knox, late great Rich Seisler. There's just so many guys that I just came up watching. Kenny Rogerson.
Oh, Kenny Rogerson.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
But also, it's
Yeah,
it's amazing how many like young comics ignore what those older guys and women can impart to them. You know what I mean? They kind of like, well, that was then, this is now. But it's always really smart to kind of see what those people were doing and really kind of glean. When you're starting out and you really don't know anything about anything, you know, to ignore that is really at your own peril.
Well, I think everybody kind of goes back like 20 years. So, like, I mean, I didn't go back to, like, Jack Benny and the Ed Sullivan Show, and those guys did. But, like, whatever they absorb from that, you can get from them. So as long as you're going back, like the kids today, if they go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, they'll be fine. I mean, because I mean, at some point you have to go out and do stand-up. At this point, there's almost like 80 years of history. You don't want to be like, you're not making like some Ken Burns documentary on stand-up, you know. At some point, you kind of got to, it's like being into music. You listen to it all the time, but I would think at some point you got to pick up an instrument and write a song, or you're not going to get anywhere. So, I mean, I think there's a bunch of amazing young comics coming up, as there always is.
Do you think that being as, I mean, running down a list of Bill Burr credits would take a long time? I mean, you were doing Breaking Bad when that was on, and you've got a new thing dropping on Netflix that I'll talk about. I know you probably can't, but I'll talk about it. And
Don't forget, I Love the 80s Strikes Back on VH1.
All that stuff. You know, I saw you pop up in Reservation Dogs, and I was happy to see you in that. And do you think that that has allowed, casting that wide net, has that allowed you to avoid the as far as your stand-up goes, because you're doing your own thing and you're expressing yourself the way you want to? I know you're smart about it, but you're really keeping that all intact. Has casting that wide net really allowed you to avoid like the Twitterati trying to ruin your life because of something you said?
All right. Well, first of all, there were some bad people doing some bad things.
Yes.
And then, you know, people wanted to stop it. And then, like everything, it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Like every movement starts with the right thing. And then what happens is psychos get a hold of it. And, you know, decent people don't want to tell other people what to do. But sociopaths do. And they forever will be on point for any sort of movement, and they'll make it about themselves. So it started off, you know, with stuff that nobody. Sorry, it went down the street. It went down the street like a, you know, like a, I don't know what, runaway street sweeper, just sucking everything under that was anywhere near it.
Right.
And I think that the psycho left kind of realizes they overstepped their bounds, because they're kind of going like, now their new thing is to say, nobody really got canceled. Nobody got canceled. Like, wait a minute. Yes, they did. Well, they think like they didn't get canceled because they still can tour the country doing stand-up. It's like, but they had a movie career, they had a TV show or whatever. It's like they definitely got blacklisted.
Yeah.
And I will say the amount of people that I saw chiming in on stuff that it's like, why are you chiming in on this? You weren't even there. Somebody's reputation, somebody's career is on the line here. And if something happened, then yeah, but you don't know what happened. Why are you jumping in on this? It would seem like people, it just got crazy, that whole just, you know, that believe all women. And it was just like, okay, so only men lie?
Right.
It got a little nuts.
Also,
it got a little nuts. But I will say this. that whole thing about like, oh, you can't say this, you can't be funny anymore, is all BS. That only existed on like television, New York, LA, and a few college campuses. But other than that, you know, nobody, you know, I haven't changed. I kind of just, it just was like in New York and LA. I didn't realize that. I was definitely thinking about, you know, a lot when I would say something like, oh, God, what if somebody filmed that? Will that get me in trouble? And I didn't realize, I didn't even notice I was doing that until I did during the pandemic. Chappelle was having those gigs out on his farm in Ohio. And when I went out there and everybody's cell phone was in a bag, it was the first time in years I felt totally free to say what I wanted to say. And I was like, oh, my God, this is what it used to be like.
Yeah,
And
actually.
then I got a little pissed about that.
Yeah, I was actually at one of those shows.
These idiots who aren't even funny. They're not even funny at telling people what's funny, what they can and can't say. And I will say, though, comedically, it was fascinating to watch the extreme left behave that extreme right. Like, they reminded me like when the right was going after the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, well, they have a right to say what they say, and we have a right to disagree with it. It's like, you're not disagreeing with it. You're not going tit for tat. You're trying to systematically destroy their ability to earn a living. That's different, and that's what the left ended up doing for years now. And I think they kind of realized that, so they're kind of walking away from it. Like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Well, and left or right, if you go far enough out in the fringes, they're going to meet together in the back, and you're going to find they're all the same people.
Yeah, out of their minds with different ideas.
Yeah.
Out of their freaking, the amount of crap that I've heard from both sides on the fringe. I just feel like everybody else is more sort of huddled in the middle, like waiting for mom and dad to stop screaming at each other.
Right.
It's triggered a lot of people.
What happened to? Yeah, why don't we just sort of everybody calm down?
Bill, I was at one of
I've
those.
been doing a bit about that in my act, about how nuts both the right and left got during the pandemic, and both sides are sort of claiming that they're right. And I'm like, this is kind of like Vietnam. I don't know who's right, who's wrong here.
Right. Let's hope it ends better.
We both got a little crazy there. We
Yeah.
both got a little crazy, got a little nuts.
Bill Burr, I saw you
This
at
is my
the.
doctor. This is my doctor. I took wood shop with him. And then the left was just like, I don't care what's in it. Stick it in your body. It got a little nuts there. Everybody got a little crazy.
Bill, you're at one of those Chappelle
Yeah,
shows.
I was at one of the Chappelle show, and I secretly recorded you, so we're going to cancel you now. No, I was just want to say
funny.
I always appreciate the love and respect that you have for Cleveland whenever you come to town, because last time you were at the arena, you popped over to Hilarities and had dinner there and said hi to Nick and everything, and it just it shows that you're, you know, a hilarious, great comedian, but you also got a lot of character. And you know, as a comedian in this town, I see that, and I appreciate it, because, you know, Bert didn't do that.
He got back in the bus. He had to get to the next town.
Well, maybe he was tired.
He was.
Give the man a break. I mean, the guy's on stage without his shirt on. I mean, he's out in the elements, all right? I mean, he's working a lot harder. I just lean on a mic stand. That man is working harder than James Brown, so you got to give him, you got to cut him some slack.
I do.
He had to catch a flight to Toronto the very next day, and so he was
Oh,
rushed.
he's got the same age and I do.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Bill Burr is in town next Saturday night. Bill Burr Live is at the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium down there in Canton. You can go to hofvillage.com for the details. His directorial debut is called Old Dads. It's going to drop on Netflix on the 20th of next month. It looks very funny, and you'll be able to see it then. You and I are both old dads. We're both drummers, Bill. I always love talking to you. And we're excited.
What do you play? What kind of kit?
I grew up playing Tama drums, but I play Pearl drums now.
Nice.
Yeah. And
they're making a cover. I got a Gretsch Broadcaster that I love.
Nice! Holy cow! What kind of cymbals you playing? You playing Zildjians or Sabians, or what are you playing?
What do I have right now? I got some Istanbuls. I've been playing some of the jazz stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Getting into that.
Good for you.
Being a little snooty here.
Yeah, I guess
I can only do the fail at the bottom stuff for so long before I got to listen to a little Count Basie, you know?
Understood. Yeah, you got to keep your chops fluid, as it
That's
were.
right.
Listen, man.
For all the gigs I don't have.
Right. Well, again, when you get called, if you get counted in, then you know what you're doing, and you get the tap on the shoulder. Listen, I appreciate your time, man, and we'll see you next weekend when you're here in town.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you, pal. You too. There's Bill Burr, HOFvillage.com, to look into those tickets and the new, because of the SAG strike, he can't talk about it. But I will tell you, the new movie, Old Dads, it's him, Bobby Cannavale, and Bokeem Woodbine. They're old dads. And it's dropping on Netflix. Bill Burr, his first time directing. It's October 20th. It's going to drop on Netflix, so look for it there. I got a break here. If you want to send a text,